So welcome everyone. Welcome to Thursday's meditation, the Transcendent Self 2, the Anahata Nad, the inner sound. Actually, Anahata means unstruck. The Anahata Nad is sound, and so the Anahata Nad, or sometimes sound is translating as nada in Sanskrit. Depends which part of the country you're from. Nad or nada is the same. Nada Brahma. Nada Brahma is God is sound. So saying God is sound, Nada Brahma. So we're doing the God is sound thing, really, the sound current of God that what we're tuning into here is really the purpose of this session. Those of you who are yoga fans will know that Anahata is also the name of the heart chakra. It's called the Anahata. And unstruck again, or unhurt is another way of saying that in terms of the heart chakra. So Anahata Nad is the unstruck sound. And we're going to find that sound within us through meditation that we call spiritual exercises. This is where we go inside and bring our attention into what could be called the third eye, in the center of our head around the pineal gland. And as a location, if we took a needle or a stick and put it over our ears, and then put another needle through the center of our forehead, where those two things met would be basically the area that we bring our focus to. On Mondays, we do the spiritual sky meditation, which is more expansive. It's almost like we move into our body and beyond. But here, we're going the other way. We're drawing all the energy up and focusing it in that center of our head, and then use that as a launching pad to travel the inner realms of consciousness. We do that under the guidance of something we call the mystical traveler consciousness. And that's a guide that each of us have within every human being on the planet. And we just call it forward in a loving vibration, and that will give us all the guidance and protection we need. All we then have to do is close our eyes and follow the sound. We start with a mantra. Some people have been initiated into the sound current and have an initiatory tone. Others who haven't can use the HU or the HU, which will go through all levels of consciousness and can be a tone to travel on. We can chant it HU, or we can split it up into its letters H and U. H, U. So we can tone that out. We can do it out loud, or we can do it inwardly, and then we listen. We listen for the sound, the inner sound. And if we get distracted, we can always bring our attention back to the HU or the HU, and then we just go with it. See what experience you have as we go along, and please join us regularly. We give little extra tips. I go sometimes into more details about all of this, or play John Roger excerpts, which do go into a little bit more detail, or excerpts from other people about how to access the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, which can be not only important hormonal centers, but also our important spiritual centers as well. So that kind of just gives you a brief introduction. There's a lot more we could say about it, but the practice is very, very simple. We close our eyes, we attune, bring the energy to that point of focus. We raise our vibration by chanting this sacred name of God, the HU. Then we listen and we watch. We may see a color on our inner vision. We may feel ourselves being drawn upwards. That's why we recommend you do this sitting down, or certainly not in a car or driving or around machinery, and so that we don't want you spacing out or losing focus. But if you're seated, then of course it's going to be fine. And just let yourself be drawn inwardly and away. Now, this practice does not require music or sound to stimulate you. In fact, it's really not recommended. However, For these sessions, I do include music. So if that bothers you, then please, you have the controls. You're in control. You can just turn off the music and just continue to do this in silence. If you're doing it by yourself, I recommend you do that in silence. But again, for this purposes, the music can be a source of inspiration or focus for you. We have some beautiful music that we're going to play for you. And it can also bring you back or just appreciate other sounds. You can also use sound. Just as a gong here, I'll just play a singing bowl that you can use the sound as a kind of a step ladder into consciousness. So as I play sound of bowl here, you can use that to follow the sound back inside of you. If you really, it can really take you away fast, and the vibration can be very, very healing as well. So we'll just begin there. We'll just ask for the highest and purest light from the highest and purest source to surround and fill each one of us and the space we're in for the highest good. We lovingly call forward the presence of the mystical traveler consciousness from within each of our hearts to guide us on our inner journey and to lift or transmute any negativity or karma for our highest good through grace. And the person that taught me all of this was John Roger. So I just like to ask for John Roger's energy and presence to infuse all that we're doing here for the highest good. And talking of John Roger, I'm going to play 2 excerpts to start us on our practice. And the first one is about the answers that we seek are already inside of us. We just have to move to that place where they are. There's nothing that we need to go outside of us. And then the second one, I think John Roger goes into a little bit more detail about SEs. You can enjoy that. And then we'll just have an SE segment. And then at the 30-minute mark, we'll have some music. And then we'll do some more SEs. We'll have a period of silence after the music. And then we'll have another musical piece, which will be completely different. And so just allow yourself to drift along. Let go. This presence of the mystical traveler consciousness, this presence of grace that we're in, will guide us in that protection, this light that we've created, this vortex of energy, the benefit of us all being together here in the same room. Yes, we are. I look at us in the same room here, is going to assist us deepen our experience. So let's hear from John Roger. We'll play 2 excerpts, just one after the other.
So I have an answer.
You do?
Yeah. Just trying to find out how to put it down in a few words. When God created you by sending you forth as a it's like a hypostasis, an extension of God back into the world. He didn't use junk or crud, nor anything less than the very best. But what he did is he gave you your mind from the mental realm, or the call power, and says, through your loving and your heart wisdoms, you'll overcome the negativity of the mind and the doubts that it has inherent within having a mind. Keep coming back to the heart and the soul, to your divine nature, and all these questions become nothing. They just become answers of how to follow through with what you've set up inside of you. And that takes care of the worry, the concern, the worthless feelings, the negative points of view, the public opinion point of view. You'll just not deal in that anymore because you'll be dealing with the divinity. You're going to learn the same way all the rest of us have learned. Is trial and error and hurt. And forgiving that hurt and loving it anyway. And when we start entering into the loving, we're matched somehow magically by something else that is loving. And it may not be a person, it may just well up inside us. We go, wow, how come I've got all that? I've never ever had that before. Undoubtedly, you've always had it. It just didn't come up before in such a way where it's now available. We're constantly revealing ourselves all the time to ourselves about something. And we're all the time recovering from some hurt all the time about something. So we can look at those two things and make them separate or just make them all part of it. That the hurt made us move on, and we recover from the hurt as we reveal something new that makes that other thing also worthwhile, that we were there to step onto something else. And we enter into a thing that I call spirituality. It's called thankfulness. And we just all of a sudden start to go, hi, I'm really thankful. Yeah, it was a terrible marriage, a terrible divorce, a terrible this. Thank God that all happened, or I wouldn't have had the wit to have been pushed over into this. Now the thing we cursed, we're blessing and praising, and we go back and we mend fences, and we do a lot of forgiveness and loving. And the other person that we left behind now turns around and walks with us as a real neat friend. That to me is spirituality. Now you might say, well, can you do this out there in the world without being in a group like this? All the time. All the time. People are spiritual. They're not doing soul transcendence, though. Eventually they all will. Eventually everyone will, because that's the nature of us. We're just there on the cutting edge saying, here, folks, let's start to look this way. Let's start to go this way. And I'll tell you why. It's called morphogenesis. When enough people move to a certain point in consciousness, it moves a mass group of people along the same line of consciousness. And when that happens, what now is trouble and toil in the world, when people are moving along to this place called loving and caring, and there's enough doing that, there won't be this type of warfare and hatred and bigotry and prejudice that's in the world now. There will be something else that will try us and test us and refine us, but that part will be gone because we will have lifted above it. It is actually going to throw us above it by its very nature, because it's a throwaway thing. It throws things away. And those people who want to be destroyed will be destroyed in it, and those who want to lift above it are going to lift above it. But we'll still be there with it. You can do something with the God inside of you. We call it spiritual exercises. We try to take you back in. Some people want to go so fast, they go right in and out the other side. They don't know that the kingdom of heaven is a vibration rate, not a location. If you go too fast, you can just zip right through it and not know you were there. Have you ever seen these Macintosh computers? Apple computer? Have you ever seen they have little icons? Well, they do. Not that I'm a computer buff, but here they have a window, and in there they have little icons. And these all have either names in them or underneath them. And it'll say something to you, and you put a little mouse arrow on here and you click it. There's a little mouse over here. It sort of runs by remote control. And you click this thing, and this opens. And what was on the screen here now disappears, and this thing here opens up and takes all the screen. You get the idea? Then in here will be something else. Maybe it's some information, and you click on the information, and all the stuff disappears, and this opens up into something bigger. But it starts out with one little point. Now, the kingdom of heaven is much like that. You go through until you hit the point. Once you click on it, everything else disappears, and you're into a whole new framework. And you can go in those things until you can just go and go and go and go and go until your finger hurts. And theoretically, you could never get to the end of it. You could probably die before you would. Going inside to find the kingdom of heaven is much like the same way. You go to a point and it opens. And in there, now you got a whole new screen. You go, wow, this is all new. What do I do now? Look around to find the point that opens the next thing. For years in mythology, it's called abracadabra, or open sesame. Or was it sesame? I like the open sesame. Now we come along, we say, let's just chant God's name until the vibration opens the door for you. And then be able to go through. But you can't go through if you're facing away from it. So you have to at least make some effort to go into it. You can trust in that. but it is a procedure. It's not a thought. In other words, the procedure is you sit down, you close your eyes, or maybe you stand up, but you close your eyes. Or if you're good at it, you can turn and revert your attention inwardly, and all this world white out. It just goes white out like you're blind. And then you go back inside, and you come to the place where there is a frequency, and you come into that frequency, and it goes, and you're right into the Garden of Eden. And you start traveling from that point. And it happens either a lot longer than I just said or a lot faster, but rarely does it happen like I said. I've never been able to say anything like it is. But when people get there, they say, it was close enough. I got the idea. I'm trying to get you close enough. Now you might say, why would you do that? Because once we find that area and we realize the gold of God's consciousness is our wealth and our support and our lifeline and the supply of all things, and that we're in it, we feel so fantastically wonderful with that we want everyone to have it. Because there is plenty, there is abundance from God, but not necessarily in this world. You can't have it all in this world, but in the inner worlds, you are it all.
Exercises now, and close your eyes. We can just do 3 hues together. And then close your eyes, and the rest of this session will be silence or music or sound. You can begin to slowly return to the room by gently wiggling your fingers and toes. So we're pretty much at the top of the hour here as we bring this meditation to a close. Hopefully you find yourself in a different, more expanded, peaceful place than when we started. So a huge thanks to Stella for hosting so beautifully, and also to Paul Wilcox for being our technician here, just making sure that everything gets smoothly communicated, and also to Maria Jose Marignon, our wonderful translator, who's translating it all for us all. So God bless you. We'll see you on Monday. Feel free to sign up for the Christ Self. Would love to see you in that class. We have 180 people who are in that, all focused on the Christ. And so it's a lovely focus to have that takes us all the way through to the end of the year, perfectly timed, and just not my timing, it just worked out that way. And so not too late. You can watch the recording and then be with us live on Monday, or continue to watch the recordings. So we'll see you all next week, next Monday, hopefully, or next Thursday. God bless you all until the next time. Thank you.